Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Crowded Booth. It's a Wednesday, so we're taking a look at Week 12's biggest games, the biggest storylines. We've got a special guest waiting in the wings that I know a lot of you just love to see come on this show. And, man, can't wait for it. We have the full crew, myself, Ralph Leary, Will Mannis, and said special guest. It's the Crowded Booth, Week 12 college football. Let's rock and roll. We'll see you back in a second.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. Coming on the Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into the Quadrant Show. I don't think we've done a show like this since before Will got fired. And, I don't think we've seen four people in the same show in quite some time. So we appreciate everyone tuning in. Lock it in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's been a minute, but we're ready to go. What's that?
The draft show. We had four.
The draft show was a wild time, Palmer. If you saw us go live during the NFL draft, it was a 4-hour live stream. We melted when Michael Penix was selected. It was a good time, though. It was a good time. Hey, welcome in.
I've heard horror stories.
Yes. Key says first live show since week 0. Glad to be back. Sam Lord says first show I've watched in a hot minute. Open the phone line. I need to talk. Palmer, he's a Tennessee fan, and we brought Palmer in to talk a little dogs and balls. He'll be in the building on Saturday. But, Palmer, we've got a lot of stuff we need to cover, including the question that you opened up. Was it Monday's press conference in Athens with? Was that a Monday presser?
It was a Monday presser coming off of the loss to Ole Miss. The message boards were hot, and what did they want to talk about more than anything? Jake Pope.
All right, so for folks that don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Palmer covers Georgia for Dogs HQ on 3. Make sure you go get that subscription, Palmer. Look, I need a contract, so it's whatever. I'll say whatever I want on whatever platform. Go get a subscription. They do a fantastic job over there. But in all seriousness, Palmer posed the question to Kirby Smart. You got an authentic, real answer from the head man himself. But kind of walk us through, like, is the Jake Pope situation blown out of proportion now that we've seen an explanation? Do fans have a right to be mad? Like, is there a middle ground? Like, what's your take on this entire situation and obviously Kirby's answer?
Yeah, and if you've been living under a rock, Jake Pope, Georgia's safety, transferred from Alabama, a Buford high school product that was a 4-star coming out of high school and chose the Crimson Tide over Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama, obviously, and can't remember. There was one more that I believe was a finalist for him, but transfers to Georgia this offseason and was seen on the field Saturday after the game, celebrating, meeting some Ole Miss fans, jumping up and down as those fans stormed the field. Obviously coming off of a 28-10 loss, not a great look, and it was treated as such on social media. So I asked Kirby Smart, hey, this video is going around. Have you seen it? And what's your reaction? And he gave, like you said, a very honest answer. And like Sam says here, what an idiot. What an idiot is exactly how Kirby opened the response. It's the most critical I've seen him be of a player, which is interesting given everything that's gone around with Georgia. I think the reason that you can be critical is because this is a lighthearted mistake, caught up in the moment of, genuine emotion of seeing somebody that he's friends with. It comes out after the fact that the two people that he was jumping up and down with were family members of somebody that he played high school football with. And Kirby was right. What an idiot. So I do think that there is a middle ground of, fans being fairly upset about a situation that, it has brought on a lot of emotion and a second loss for Georgia. that loss factors into it. That loss brings on a lot of emotion, but I do think that it was, maybe blown a little bit out of proportion. But, hey, when Kirby gives a, incredible answer like that, you've just got to run with it.
We were talking with Palmer before the show started. Was it one of those moments where he knew as soon as Kirby opened his mouth, this is probably going to go viral? And Palmer did agree. Ken Hendricks says it's Palmer Tums, which his name's Tums, but that's okay. The greatest name ever. That or former Georgia, I guess he played first base. I can't remember, Palmer, Parks Harbor, who then transferred to UNC. What a name for a kid just to go, that sounds real high society. So that sounds good. And Palmer Tom sounds high society as well. Growing up in you're from where? Like outside of Nashville?
I'm from Nashville. Yeah.
Where's good high school?
Montgomery Bell Academy.
Okay.
We're talking out Palmer's personal life.
Academy.
Yeah,
What's your social
Social
security?
security
Tells you
number,
all you need to know.
credit card.
What's your home address? That's the real question.
The same high school as Marcel Reed, who's did some damage to LSU.
Palmer. It's been a brutal last 6 quarters for the Tigers. A brutal last 6 quarters.
Hey, it hasn't been the best time to be covering Georgia either.
Man, people trying to find that $61 million to get Brian Kelly off of his little LSU lake house. That's what they're trying to do.
Isn't there a slight possibility that in some weird world that LSU and Georgia play for an SEC championship through all these different tiebreakers?
Yeah, it's nuts. And I went on the record, like, this is really bad. It's probably unprofessional. I told LSU's SID, I hope that LSU doesn't go to the SEC championship last night at player interviews, because who wants to back their way in to an SEC title? Look, obviously you get there, you want to make the playoff. And he joked as well. He was like, I don't think that's going to happen. But like the numbers, it's not even as crazy as you would have to make it out to be. So people have been telling me from LSU's perspective, it's like the favorites have to win the rest of the way. The presumed, I guess, betting odd favorites, and LSU has to win out. And then it would be LSU Texas. Now I can't remember where Georgia fits into that, but the craziest part about it, and we're about to parlay right into this right here, is that LSU could get in over Alabama with a tied record because of opponents' winning percentage. Shout out to Will Mannis and the Auburn Tigers for bringing down Alabama's opponents' winning percentage in the SEC, which could be
wait
the
a minute now.
downfall.
Alabama's got to win that game. Alabama's got to win that game. Hold on now.
Well, Auburn hadn't won in Tuscaloosa since 2010, but there's still a chance.
Sure.
It's 14 years, but hey, never know.
You got to play the game.
Sam says, dang it, Bryce, beat me to what if scenario. Les Miles, Brian Kelly has been backing into championships most of his career. Palmer, we're not going to keep you super long, but we did want to talk about a couple of things. Let's dive right into the college football playoff rankings that came out last night. I've been perusing just social media and just seeing there's a lot of ticked off Georgia fans with the drop that they saw. Now, you would obviously think, Palmer, you would think if you win this week, it doesn't matter. Like if you win, you're right back in the mix. But does this set a precedent for something that the committee might do to maybe push out that 4th or 5th extra SEC team? Like, what is your takeaway from where Georgia sits and then the rest of the field?
Well, there's 2 things that I take away from it. One, I think that Georgia, if it does win, I do agree with you that if Georgia wins on Saturday against Tennessee and obviously handles business against UMass and almighty Georgia Tech. I knew you would like that one, Bryce. If they take care of business the rest of the way, Georgia will be in the playoff. Now, I think Georgia could be going on the road for the playoff. And I think that is surprising to some Georgia fans that we're talking about a team that would have wins over Texas and Clemson and Tennessee. Would have played the number 1 strength of schedule and would be forced to go on the road because of 2 road losses to Alabama and Ole Miss, 2 teams very likely to be in the playoffs. So I think that is one takeaway that I had from last night. 2 would be, I do think there's a dangerous precedent that's being set here of, let's preface this. This is the 2nd playoff rankings. These don't really matter. Yeah. They very well could be doing this just to drive some TV ratings for ESPN. Mm-hmm. But if these are true rankings, and that's how they very much view this, to me, I don't love the fact that we are very much looking at a ranking that says, hey, here's your undefeated and one-loss teams. Let's rank them accordingly, and
Yeah.
then we'll get to the 2-loss teams. Because in a world where the SEC and the Big Ten and all those teams, but all those conferences, but especially the SEC, where those conferences have gotten to this point where they cannot have everybody playing everybody, and there's going to be unbalanced schedules, and there's going to be, there is this drive to create made-for-TV matchups.
Yeah.
When you do that and you put a team like Georgia in as many tough games as they did, playing 4 college football playoff potential teams, 5 if you want to throw Clemson in, but that's by Georgia's own doing. But playing that many teams that are that good, you're begging these conferences to say, okay, fine, we're not going to do this anymore. Because if what matters is, if all that matters is the number of losses that you have, there's no point in teams going out and scheduling non-conference games, but also playing a tough conference slate, and so it is a tough precedent to set. And I do think that it could set up for an SEC team surprisingly being left out of the field, or in favor of a Big Ten team, let's just call them Penn State, that hasn't beaten anybody, that has, just because they have one loss, or let's call an independent Notre Dame that has one loss because they've beaten just Texas A&M, and really haven't played anyone else. To me, I think
Oh God, Will. Oh God, Will.
The disrespect.
The disrespect to Navy.
To me, I just think that we
Blue
need to be
Navy
looking
out.
at more than the one loss.
Oh,
I
That's
think
right.
there's got to be a deeper dive into this than just how many wins do you have, how many losses do you have. If you've got one or none, you're in.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that I was talking with someone about this today. I think we're entering a time of where you really are going to figure out, and the committee has to figure this out. Are you going with the most deserving, or are you being realistic about who would actually beat who? Y'all's guy, JD Pickell, kind of went viral for talking about, the fact that BYU wouldn't be favored over like the top 6 or 7 SEC teams on a neutral site. And I won't even say I disagree with that. I think that is very true. I mean, I think it is true to a certain extent. But
I think you got to be careful too, like moving forward, trying to be hypothetical like that.
Oh, very true.
Like
yeah.
Basing on who would beat who. Just say who you think is better. Like watching the teams play. Like, to me, I think, I said this Monday when we previewed it. I don't know that the committee watches games the way that they rank these teams. It's almost like they don't even watch.
Yeah. The fact that South Carolina just entered the rankings is wild to me. They're one of the hottest teams in college. Tulane. The fact that Missouri's ranked. I mean, and Eli Drinkwitz goes on national television talking with Cole Kublik about they still got a chance, and I want what he's drinking up there in Columbia, so it's crazy stuff. But Palmer, you kind of answered my second question there, but I'll kind of throw this back to you. You mentioned the viewpoint of where we're going with these rankings. I'll kind of bring it back to you. Is it as simple as Georgia, you win your next 3 and you're in? Like, is that it?
I do. And I think around the country, it probably will play itself out to a pretty clean decision. Obviously, there's going to be somebody that gets upset, somebody that gets left out, just as it was in a 4-team field, just as it is in a 64-team NCAA tournament field.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's getting left out. And so, somebody's going to be upset. But I do think that from a Georgia perspective, if Georgia wins out, Georgia is not going to get left out. Yeah. If Georgia, is sitting here at number 12 right now, yes, they would be out of the playoff because of the group of 5 spot that gets secured. But they are the 12th best team in the country per these rankings. If they beat the number 7 team, they are going to move up. That will put them inside that field. And if you take care of business against UMass and Georgia Tech, you are in the field. Now, what would be interesting is if Georgia somehow, some way, found its way into an SEC championship game and lost, get punished for that. And that's going to be the case for whoever ends up there. Let's say 2-loss Alabama ends up in the SEC championship game and loses to Texas, and or whoever it may be. If a 2-loss team from the SEC loses in the SEC championship game and gets left out, there will be riots.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you there. And before I throw it to the other guys to kind of talk about their, reaction to this, I wanted one more question, and we can take this wherever we want to go. It's if that happens, if that scenario happens, let's say the loser of the SEC title game is deemed, not fit for the playoff. How much longer till they say, well, we're not going to play it. We're not going to play the conference title game. Like, I mean, there's so much money involved, and I get that, but I feel like there's going to have to be some type of balance where you can't penalize these conferences that said we stacked up on teams and now we've got a 3-loss runner up, but they're probably the third or fourth best team in the country, but they're not going to be able to get in because of that.
It's just so tough because, and I would be lying to you if I said I know the financials of it well enough to say, hey, this championship game produces this much for the conference versus this extra playoff team would produce that much. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to, though. And either that or these athletic directors, and it's going to have to come from, league wide. It's going to have to come from some ADs that aren't necessarily involved in it. Let's just say a Vanderbilt AD, they're going to have a say in this. The South Carolina AD, they're going to have a say in this. Arkansas. Those ADs, all the athletic directors in the conferences, not just the LSUs and Georgias and Alabamas and Texases that are fighting for these playoff spots and could be affected, all the ADs are going to have to stand up and say, Greg, we're not putting up with this. We are not playing this game anymore because it is going to keep a very deserving team out of this game, out of this playoff.
That's fair. Fellas, any thoughts on this?
If they don't play the SEC championship game, how are they going to pay Georgia Tech to play the Georgia game in there?
Palmer, I don't know if you know this. You absolutely got destroyed by a Georgia Tech podcaster. I got to send you the link. This good. He's a friend of the show. He's a good dude. He's obviously a massive Tech fan, but he's like, screw that guy. Like that guy's awful. Like, well, he's coming up here with his smug face talking about stuff like. He probably races cars down Millage too, like just something random. Like he was just going off. So, anyways, but no.
Guys, I'll see you guys. I gotta go get in my Lambo and go race. I gotta go drag race some Georgia football players.
Hey, can you confirm or deny that Kirby had Carson Beck's Lambo towed over the weekend?
I'm pretty sure that was fake. I'm pretty sure that was fake. I know it's fake. I did know that actually happened. He needs to let it happen. But I did see a picture, and it was a Florida tag, which I found pretty funny.
That's amazing, fellas. To Will and Ralph, any final thoughts on the playoff and what you want to take before we go into Tennessee, Georgia?
There's going to be a Big Ten elimination game in a couple weeks. Ohio State and Indiana. If Ohio State wins that game, I don't see a 1-loss Indiana sticking around. Which is unfortunate for them. I just don't see the committee keeping them around. And if Indiana beats Ohio State, that might be the end for Ohio State too.
No, it won't. It won't be though, Will. You know that, and that's where a very deserving, Georgia team or SEC team in general is going to get left out, and it's going to happen because a 2-loss Ohio State gets in, and deservingly so. I think that Ohio State is one of the best 12 teams in the country, but I don't know that Notre Dame is. I don't know that Penn State. I very much don't know that Penn State is.
Say it louder for the people in the back, Palmer. Don't whisper it.
I don't know that Penn State is good.
No one does. No one does.
Franklin doesn't.
Dude, his fans definitely don't. They can't stand him now. I mean, the performance they did against Ohio State was poor. It was pitiful. They scored on a pick six. They had the ball on the 1-yard line. They threw 3 straight passes and then tried to run it in there, and just it didn't work. I mean, it was a horrible game. They literally shot themselves in the foot for making the playoff.
That's not to say that Georgia is the most impressive team out there in the world. Right now, they are not playing that well, but at least they've shown you at some point this season that they can beat a really good team. The win at Texas, the win over Clemson, and they've got a chance this weekend.
The second half against Alabama.
The second half against Alabama.
Yeah, and I mean, my thing was what Palmer said earlier was true. These playoff rankings don't matter until the final one comes out. I mean, it's just like you said, it's just getting ratings. They want to see these matchups. Like, who wouldn't love to see Alabama go play? What is it right now? Is it Tennessee? Would that be the matchup right now?
In
No, it's
what?
Indiana,
The
Tennessee.
Well, Indiana's 5 right now.
What? Indiana's
they-
5 in the
if-
playoff rankings?
Yes.
Indiana's
right.
ranked 5th, but they're not seeded 5th.
Yeah, they're not the 5 seed.
Oh,
Ohio State's the 5 seed.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I was just looking at the straight rankings. Either way, it's Alabama going to play Indiana the first round. Like, ESPN, like, oh, Alabama's got to travel for a playoff game. They would love that. That's what they want to see. They want to see something like that. But, we still got, what 4 or 5 weeks till the actual playoff rankings come out. So, a lot can happen. And this season alone should tell you a lot can happen in those weeks.
Yeah, it's the matchups. First round matchups would be Notre Dame, against Tennessee, which would be an unbelievable game in Knoxville. Ohio State, Boise State, Penn State, Ole Miss, and then Indiana, Alabama.
Well, the Ashton Genty Heisman game will go off. It'll be awesome to see.
Ugh.
If Ole Miss goes to Penn State, Bryce, I think I'll be crying for you. Because that should be LSU.
It should be LSU.
I'm so mad about that. Dev says you can't penalize the teams for playing hard schedules, but you cannot justify leaving a one-loss Big Ten team out of the playoff too. At what point do losses matter versus where winning your schedule? At what point do losses matter versus where do winning your schedule matter? There's no right choice. Ken wants to know, would Vandy walk Penn State? Probably not.
Nope.
Would South Carolina? I think that'd be a good
Nope.
football game. I think it'd be a very good football game.
I think Vandy would be a good game.
Vandy's going to beat LSU down here in 2 weeks, so that's all we know.
Not.
Diego's going to sing "Suck That" right to the student section. That's going to happen. It's going to be amazing. Dev says, yes, it's true. The Big 12 champion will have a weaker strength of schedule, but can you punish them for doing everything they literally could do? No, but that's the whole point of why I think eventually it's going to break away, because the SEC is going to get fed up with having 6 teams they feel like is worthy and seeing Boise State play Kansas State and the ratings be literally 17 people. That's what no one wants that. Okay. Good stuff. Let's talk Georgia and Tennessee on the playoffs. All right, Paul, we'll go to you, then we'll get you out of here. I mean, man, there's so many storylines that we can sit here and talk about this game. Georgia gets to play a home night game in 17 years, it feels like. I mean, they haven't played a home night game in forever.
They haven't played a home game in forever. It's been over a month.
Game in over a month. Sounds like Auburn. Playing 75 road games in the middle of the season and 12 at the beginning. That math made no sense. Let's talk Tennessee and Georgia, though. Seriously, I mean, what are some of the keys to this game? I mean, I know you've done so much diving into this over at Dogs HQ, but just kind of your overarching 30,000-foot view. I mean, we know Carson Beck has to play better. That's not a secret for anything. But what's the secret sauce here for Georgia to win this game?
Yeah, I think offensively, you're right. Obviously, Carson has to play better. And I think Carson did play better against Ole Miss. I don't think that Carson was the problem there. I think that they did a pretty good job of trying to mask some of his problems, but he was not helped out by those around him, most specifically the offensive line. And that's what, is my biggest concern for Georgia this weekend against a very talented defensive front. James Pierce and, a banged up Georgia offensive line that very much struggled to block Ole Miss could have the exact same concerns against Tennessee and should have those. So, if you can't run the ball and Georgia's, got 4 running backs on the injury report, they are banged up and they are banged up on the offensive line. So if you can't run the ball, then everybody knows you are either trying to run the ball and putting yourself in 2nd and long, 3rd and long, whatever, or you are in obvious weird throwing it. You become an air raid team, and a team like that against a defensive line like this, where you're having trouble blocking them anyway. When a team knows you're blocking, when you are pass protecting and you are going to throw it and drop back and pass, it makes it that much harder to block them. Now, I think being at home helps that as opposed to being on the road. But, I just think that for me, that is the biggest key for Georgia offensively. And then defensively, it's the complete opposite of that. You've got to get some pressure on whoever's playing quarterback for Tennessee. My guess is it's going to be Nico, who's listed as questionable. on the first injury report, and we'll see how that kind of plays out. But my gut says that Nico gives it a shot because of how big this game is for Tennessee. Whether it's Nico or Gaston Moore, I think that you have to be able to get after the quarterback. You have to make them uncomfortable because this Tennessee offense naturally puts defensive backs out on an island. The spacing says, hey, you are going to be spread out and you are going to have to guard this guy one-on-one. Georgia's defensive backs have struggled this year. And the best way to help them out, we saw it against Texas. We saw it against Tennessee 2 years ago here in Athens. Get after the quarterback. And so to me, I think this game is won and lost in the defensive, in the line of scrimmage. Who best handles that war.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good, summing up kind of this game in general. Obviously, this line has moved a little bit if you're in the betting world. It's been interesting to see. Palmer, how comfortable do you feel with that 10.5 point favorite in favor of Georgia?
11 now, according to Bet Online.
Oh, up to 11? 11 even?
11 even.
No hook. Okay, so 11 even. Palmer, if you were putting money on this game, where would you lie and kind of maybe give us your prediction of what's going to happen on Saturday?
I do like Georgia to win this game. I think that just ultimately, Kirby Smart's teams have played the best when they've been doubted, when they've had their backs. We really haven't seen them with their back against the wall that often. But when they've been doubted, we've seen them play well. There's no bigger doubt for this team than, hey, you're on the outside of the college football playoffs looking in if the season were to end today. And I think that is considered a slap across the face to this team. I think that they know, hey, we are better than how we've played. They know that if they take care of their own business, that they will be in that. They're not concerned about that, but I think that they definitely see it as disrespectful. So to me, I think that they come out with a chip on their shoulder in front of an energized home fan base that hasn't seen the Bulldogs play between the hedges in over a month. I think that they come out and they play well. 11 points, I don't know about that. That is a lot of points, especially for an offense that is very much struggling and is going to struggle, with how good Tennessee's defense is and how beat up this offensive line is. So to me, if I'm picking this game straight up, I'm picking Georgia. If I'm picking it against the spread, I'm picking Tennessee. I'm thinking something like, I don't know, 24-17.
Low scoring. So you're going low scoring.
Low scoring.
I like it.
Yep.
What's the over-under on this game, Will?
It is 48.5.
Ooh, okay. So
makes a lot of sense. I mean, you got Tennessee, who's become
24-17 would be an under there.
Yeah.
Right. Tennessee team.
But it's not terribly, terribly far off of that.
No, yeah.
Tennessee team that runs the ball, become a dominant run-first team. And a Georgia offense who I don't think you can have any faith in, especially if they got 4 running backs banged up. I just don't know where the points are going to come from.
Yeah, that's – well, Palmer, tell me, if Georgia wins –
And a Tennessee defense that has played very well and a Georgia defense that has shown that they can play well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with all the offensive concerns that you've got, all the defensive strengths that these two teams have, I'm liking the under there.
I like it. Palmer Tom's and his betting odds. Will be interesting to see. Palmer, last one for you, man. With Carson back, is this just a living nightmare that he's living? He's playing the worst stretch of football that he's had, in terms of maybe his entire career. I mean, is this just like, I could say there's a lot of similarities. I said this on the show the night between him and Garrett Nussmeier right now. Both talented guys, but it's just reads. It's just you're in this funk and maybe you're trying too hard to get out of it.
I would say yes. And in all honesty, I thought you were asking, is it a living nightmare to cover it? Because yes, it is. You've got people that are trying to ask you, hey, what's up with Carson? What's up with Carson? Doesn't even know what's up with Carson.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that everything that is happening is so inexplainable that you just don't, there is no way to, say, hey, here's what's up with Carson. Here's what's got to be fixed. You can't make the stupid mistakes that he's making. What an idiot, so stupid. That's what you could say about Carson Beck and the way that he's played at times. Some of the decisions that he's made. It's and I've said it a couple times this week. I think when you look at Georgia, and everything that it had to replace this offseason. In Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, people very much overlooked Marcus Rosemy, Jack St., Dejan Edwards, Kendall Milton. A lot of offensive pieces there. You had a very important piece of the offensive line in Cedric Van Pran. You had a pretty important piece of the offensive line in Marius Mims. Not so easy to just, snap your fingers and say, hey, these guys, you can put bodies out there and they can be talented, but they might not have that same chemistry. And so I think last year as a first-year starter, having guys like that made Carson comfortable. Not having guys like that this year, I feel like maybe he's pressing a little bit thinking, well, I'm the star. I'm the guy that everyone's looking at. I'm the one that has to make up for those guys being gone. And reality is, if Carson plays, when Carson plays within the system and within everything that he's capable of, he's played really well. But when he gets outside of it and feels the pressure and thinks, hey, I've got to be the guy, I've got to be the dude that drives this force of Georgia's offense, that's when Georgia gets in trouble. So is he living in a nightmare? I think maybe a little bit. I think it certainly doesn't help him that his receivers are dropping passes and that his offensive line can't block, and he's got defenders in his face knowing that he's going to be throwing the ball and yada, yada, yada. None of that helps. But I think that some of the pressure that Carson is probably – and Carson hasn't said that. Carson very much all through this has stood by his receivers and stood by his coaches and stood by, everybody that's around him and, has put the blame on himself. As a good leader should do. He also hasn't said, he admitted to being uncomfortable, but just a guess from watching it and trying to make some sense of some of the mistakes he's made. That's the only explanation that you can come up with, is that he's just trying to press a little bit too much and be a guy that drives this offense.
Palmer Toms does a great job, Dogs HQ. I'm looking right now, Palmer, if you wanted to more on the Georgia side of things and read, obviously, the stuff from that great staff they have over there at the On3 Georgia site, you can get, if I'm right, Palmer, $1 for 7 days and $4.99 a month after the first year, or you can sign up straight for $11.99. Great stuff. They do great work over there, Palmer. We appreciate the time, man. Enjoy Saturday night. And I was going to ask you about the Fire Mike Bobo chants, but I won't make you comment on those. But no, man, I appreciate it as always, and we look forward to hearing from you. Maybe a Georgia win. I hope you get to plan your trip in December accordingly, while I'll be looking for hotels in either Nashville or Jacksonville. I was rooting for the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, but may not get it. So appreciate it, brother.
See you guys.
Palmer Thomas does a great job. We appreciate him as always. Fellas, Palmer really kind of laid this out, so you can talk about what you want to talk about with this game. Ralph, we'll go to you first. Maybe some keys, and then your overall kind of prediction where you see this thing going.
I mean, we talked about this on Monday night about Georgia's run game. This is a team that has predominantly been known as a running first team. Year in, year out, having a dynamic number one, number two running back. They don't have it right now. And that causes Carson to take full responsibility for this offense, and he can't do that. He shouldn't be having to do that this offense. That's not who he really is. He's not that dynamic dual threat quarterback where he can run the ball and make certain plays out in the open. So he needs a run game to kind of get him going, and they have to establish that. And you're facing two of the best defensive fronts in the SEC back-to-back weeks, really can't do that. I'll say this: best defensive fronts in the last 3 weeks, last 3 games. Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee. I mean, you're not facing some weak defensive fronts. You got to run the ball, though. I mean, I know you're asking a lot of your offensive line, and you're, very young, talented running back Nate Frazier and Cass Jones, but Trevor Etienne's got to step up. Yeah. I mean, if he's banged up, he's banged up. If he's healthy, he's got to go. He's got to play. He has not shown me a single thing this year where he has been that dynamic running back that everyone thought he could be, where he was at Florida.
The Texas game, he carried them for portions of that game.
Right. And after that, he's just been a lackluster. Now, I know he's been banged up and stuff, but if you're banged up, don't play, because you're not helping your team right now. If you go out there and get a carry against Ole Miss, he had 6 carries for 24 yards. Probably the best running game they had. Nate Frazier, 12 for 47. That's a team, 32 carries, 60 yards. That's about 2 yards a carry.
You
got to run the ball. You have to run the ball against Tennessee, because, their defensive front is really good. They got a good pass rush, and you're not going to just sit there and back there all day and throw on them. So,
no, I'm with you there. Can't disagree. So, Ralph, what's your prediction?
I think Georgia wins. I'm going to go 31-20.
Ooh. So you're sitting right on that 11 points.
31 points.
I'm saying this, Will. I think they have two defensive scores.
Like,
Georgia's
they might have
defense is the reason they score points. Honestly, I think this defense is really good. Nico's a young quarterback. He's not really played in this kind of environment yet. He's played some tough games, and he had Alabama at home.
He's looked like a freshman in a lot of games, and now going to Georgia, like we talked about, first home game in a while, playing what
they're going to be
might be the best. Yeah, and playing what might be the best defense he's seen all year. It's a really, really good Georgia defense. But
one more thing, and this is because we talked Bryce and Gavin about this today. They're wearing all black. The fans are. It's a blackout for the fans.
Yeah,
It's going to be a night game in Athens. They're already in all black. I would not be surprised if Georgia rolls out the black uniforms this weekend.
Well, I'll clip that because I'm not saying that, but that's.
Do they want to lose?
Sure.
They got a losing record wearing those,
Do they?
I think they do. I think they're one game under 500 all time.
When's the last time they wore them?
Mississippi State, 2020.
Or maybe they're one game over.
Why do they even have them if they're not going to wear them?
Why do they have white helmets that are sick, but they don't wear them? Who knows, man? Ken Hendricks just said losing Colby Young and Rara hurt more than people have talked about. Yeah, no, that has hurt in terms of the weapons that they have. Gavin says Will's a closet UGA fan confirmed. So Will, give your thoughts real quick.
He's wearing red and black right now. Look at him.
That's been long confirmed. That's old news.
Source?
Will himself.
Literally me. No, if I'm picking this game, I'm taking Tennessee plus 11, and I'm actually going to lean toward Tennessee winning the game. I think Tennessee's ability, it kind of hinges on, can Tennessee run the ball? We talked about Nico looking like a freshman. It's going to be a hostile environment, so they've got to run the ball and get him comfortable. I don't know. I'm flipping my pick. I'm still taking Tennessee plus 11. I think Georgia's going to win the game. Tight, ugly, gross. Way under. I think Kevin in the comments. Way under. I think it's gonna be on the Georgia defense, like Ralph said. Georgia's offense, I have basically no faith in right now. And you look at that Tennessee front seven. Their defensive line is one of the best in the SEC. Really, really good unit. They're going to make it tough on Georgia and Georgia's offensive line with all their problems. If you want me to say a score, I think it might be like 16-14. Georgia win. I mean, this is going to be just an ugly, low-scoring affair, I think, because it's two really good defenses against two bad offenses at the moment. But offenses, it could be really good. And, they'll probably prove me wrong, and the offenses will figure things out this week and have a shootout. But if you've been following my best bets, that's probably what's going to happen, because I said way under.
I want to say one thing, off what Will said, about Tennessee's run game. Dylan Sampson, one of the best running backs in the country right now. I think he's third or fourth in carries in the country. With 200 for about 1,200 yards and 20 touchdowns this year. He's been their workhorse. He's been their workhorse, and it shows. Alabama especially was the one game where he kind of stepped up big for them. And Tennessee's got some really good receivers. It reminds me a lot like Georgia's receivers. They drop a lot of passes, though. They hurt Nico a lot in the Alabama game. I thought they probably should have blown Alabama out. They had about 3 drop passes that were for touchdowns, and that's because they ran the ball very well in that game. They established a run, made Alabama stack the box, and they started throwing over top of their head, and receivers just drop passes. I mean, look, I agree with Will. Also, it could be a 16-14. It could be anything. Both offenses could figure it out. It could be a high-scoring matchup. Who knows? This game is a big question mark because I don't know what's going to happen Saturday.
Let me double down and go even uglier. 13-11.
If Georgia and Clemson and Georgia and Tennessee ends, and if the game ends in the teens, I will Venmo you $50. Like if it ends like 13-11, 17. Here's my thing with it, and I'll say this: I'm picking Tennessee to win this one outright. I think the Vols win, and here's the big reason why. Carson Beck, things would have to shift, and we've said this a lot of times on the show, right? Like in order for said thing to happen, things would have to completely change. And in his last 3 games, Beck has been pressured. Not a lot. He's had 125 dropbacks. He's only been pressured in terms of bringing more than 4, just 37 times. But it's ridiculous. I was looking at the stat earlier today. He has just 8 completions with 7 sacks and 5 interceptions, and that's a passer rating of 0.0. So when they bring pressure, and they will, I don't know if I trust Carson Beck to make the right read and the right decision. That's where I sit with this. And then to kind of add on to it, Tennessee will win this game if they play it like they played against Oklahoma. And I know it's an Oklahoma offense that's not very good and all this kind of stuff, but you go back to that was one of the early statement games that Tennessee needed to go make under Josh Heupel. How different was this team? And one of the things they did in that game was they won it in a different way than in years past. There wasn't a lot of flash. Nico didn't have eye-popping stats. What they did was control the clock, control the game with their run game, play very good defense, and allow Nico to have easy not gimme throws, but an easy day at the office, really. And so I think that if they go and play this game on the road like this, I will say this, it would very much surprise me to see Georgia blow Tennessee out. It just would, and I understand it's Georgia, it's Kirby Smart. I think Tennessee could blow Georgia out. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think the Vols could blow Georgia out, that they could control the game. So my final score of this one is 27-17. With Tennessee winning. I just, like I said, we could all be wrong here. Maybe Georgia's offense clicks back at home, but bottom line, man, I don't know. Like the line's crazy, man. I know TD Jake says Vegas knows what they're talking about.
You must feel very strongly about this because you say more than anybody else how hard it is to go win on the road. You're picking a double-digit underdog to go win on the road
by double digits. Yeah, no, I am, and it is, and I think Tennessee's identity has shifted, if that makes sense. I don't think this is a running gun team. I think that they've shown an ability to go and win physical battles, and the best thing that Georgia's good at right now is their defense, right? And if Nico plays competent football at the quarterback position, Tennessee's going to be able to run the football. Like, it would surprise me to see Georgia shut that down. Like Ralph said, the Dylan Sampson stats is ridiculous. And if they just play the idea of controlling the ball, I go out on a limb here. I think Sanford could empty out in the third, fourth quarter. I mean, they really, really, really could go blow them out. I don't see it happening, but
Sunday school environment.
It's just, you'll have people barking, so it'll be okay. TD Jake says Nico might not even be playing from what I'm hearing. All respect, get out of the Twitter groups, not real sources. I can't wait to see Michael and Jalen Walker put Lance Hurd on Sports Center. He can't move. I don't know what his problem is. In all seriousness, no TD Jake. I mean, it's
there's false rumors and there's rumors. No one knows.
Every single fan on social media says, well, this is what I'm hearing. Well, where are you hearing this? You read that off a message board. So it's not what you heard, it's what you paid to get. It's not a real source. That's not how that works. We're going to get ourselves in trouble if we keep talking about that. All right, we'll have a message from Dr. Squatch. We'll come back, take a look at games to watch and best bets.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
Very interesting. Very interesting. He got it from KQ. Well, should I do it, Ralph? There you go. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness.
So you know where I live?
Oh, okay. No, in all seriousness, he might not play, but I mean, it would, like Palmer said, it would surprise me. Like this is your season. You know, this is what it rides on. So if Christian Dev says, come get some, everyone knows that they don't know nobody. So there we go. All right, let's take a look at games to watch. I'm going to lead off with this one, ladies and gentlemen. Massive American Conference battle. Dr. Bob's not here tonight. I believe he's still at church. We called him at a bad time. Tulane going up to Annapolis, Maryland. Tulane Navy. Man, this is a big one. I mean, this is for really Navy season's on life support in terms of reaching the AAC title. They've got to go win this game. This is a fun one, man. I think this is a football game.
Rock dweller take right here from TD Jake. This weekend kind of sucks for good games to be A's. Rock dweller take. And Bryce is hitting you with a big one at noon.
That's a big one. The Wave Midshipman, big one. And what is this for? The Trident, the battle for the Trident. I mean, this is good stuff, fellas. So I'm excited to watch that game at noon.
This game was on my short best bet. I didn't go there, but I like the over 53.
Oh Jesus! Will's internet just cuts out. Speed bulk.
I like the over. That's what I said.
Okay,
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Tulane Navy.
I got one, Bryce. It's a little not close to home, but becoming close to home for us. Boston College at SMU. A little big ACC matchup.
Look at that.
The boys are rolling out in black.
Yes, sir. Pony up, baby.
Pony up. Although I am nervous because BC might be SMU's kryptonite.
Dear crowded booth. Thomas Castellanos no longer with the program. He's entering the portal.
Learn the creed.
No, I will say someone in the Discord had a take today that it could make sense for him to go to Florida State, and I don't think that's crazy. That actually makes sense.
He's from Miami.
He'll go to Miami.
I don't know who they have behind Cam Ward.
Jake Garcia.
Nobody.
Jake Garcia is at East Carolina, and he's not even playing.
Coach. No, but hey, look. Other schools, when you want media attention, here you go. This is how you do it. Figure it out. Atlanta market dominated by the team in Athens. Can't get out of their own way. All blue, all in. All right. That's a good one though, Ralph. I mean, look, I say I'm going to hinge more towards the SEC and just in the sense of keeping eyes. Texas, Arkansas. Like Arkansas could make things crazy if they pull off that upset. Like things could really, really get crazy.
This was on best bet watch for me as well. Texas -13.
What?
Kevin, what?
You had to watch the documentary. Had to watch the documentary.
Bruce, what did
I'm not answering that.
Yeah, speaking of SEC, LSU at Florida.
I'm pumped, baby. I'm gonna be there. Rivalry game.
You tired of talking about this game?
No, because no one wanted to talk about it. Last week I was tired of talking about LSU, Alabama. No, in all seriousness, I mean, this is a rivalry game. I think there's an opportunity. Is DJ Lagway going to play? If he doesn't, then I think LSU wins pretty comfortably. If he does, I think Florida has a legitimate shot to go win the football game.
If Lagway plays, give me Florida +4.5. Interesting ACC game.
There you go. There you go, Jonesy. That's what they say.
Didn't hear it at all, but okay.
Couldn't hear that at all. Clemson goes to the Cathedral, formerly known as Heinz Field, as 10-point favorites at Pitt. That line is wild to me. Clemson -10.
Acrisure Stadium, is that what it's called now?
It is.
Oh gosh, that's awful. Look, hey, he's here.
Gentlemen, Dutter Bob, real quick, get your thoughts in.
What's the Trident called?
Yeah, get your thoughts on Tulane Navy. That's a big one. The battle for the Trident, exactly. Who does Lincoln University coach?
I'm working on it.
Pitt looked not good.
Yeah, it is a cathedral.
Why? Guess why? Because they're not good.
You were right this whole time. We are who they thought they were.
We didn't let them off the hook.
Another wild line. USC is 9-point favorites hosting Nebraska.
Backup quarterback, dude.
Who cares?
They were playing. That's last week.
How about this?
FMU. FMU.
How about this? Let's go to the Fun Belt.
I've got one more SEC game real quick. Missouri, South Carolina could be interesting. South Carolina's a double-digit favorite. Anyways, though, keep going.
Back to the Fun Belt, to the 404. Georgia State is favored. Georgia State is favored against Arkansas State. How bad is Butch Jones in Arkansas State?
Well,
Friend of the program, Butch Jones.
And Del McGee.
Champion of life, baby.
Give me the Panthers minus 2.5.
Will, you missed out the big one, actually. The big one is South Alabama is going to Louisiana.
That's actually a massive one. South
That's a
Alabama's
big
still
game.
alive. In the Sun Belt race.
Louisiana is a 7-point favorite home at Cajun Field. Best stadium name. 100%. Cajun Field.
I might be there in 3 weeks. Who knows?
I hope you are.
Y'all sleeping on Troy, Georgia Southern? No, Dev. We will get there in a second.
Up,
Ralph versus Drippy.
Also, when is Trent Dilfer going to get Herm Edwards? Is it happening this week against Memphis?
I hope so. Please.
Mekhi Hughes, second best running back in America. Very good football player.
I need Mekhi Hughes to learn the creed.
Who's Fran No Shower Brown and the Orange playing this weekend? They're playing.
Are they playing?
They're dogs at Cal. 8.5-point dogs at Cal. I don't know. That's some games to watch. All right, let's do best bets. I love me some Butch Jones. Enjoyed my conversation with him.
Really want to go first? We already know what Will's is going to be.
I want to see guesses in the comments. What's my best bet?
All right, I'll go first.
What do y'all think? Yeah, go first, Ralph.
I'm going with Illinois -3 versus Michigan State at home. Illinois had a 2-game slide where they've kind of underperformed lately. Obviously, the Oregon game where they got blown out. Last week, Minnesota, they lost just a bad game overall. So,
yeah,
Michigan State looking to bounce back. 2:30 kickoff there. I still like Illinois. I think Luke Altmaier's done a good job this year. Obviously, the transfer.
Well, he's 36. He should.
Yeah, he's in his 15th year. Josh McCray running back, and they got some pretty good receivers over there. And I like what they do, how their offense is set up. They're good. They're just kind of they fight to the end of the games. I mean, the Penn State game was probably the worst game I've seen play. Illinois, just pitiful performance. So, and obviously the Purdue game they won it overtime. So,
yeah, Purdue's awful. Purdue is god awful.
Right,
Ralph post how to lose your hard-earned money. Ralph's on a 2-game losing streak. Ralph, are you on a 2-game?
Oh,
Jesus.
All right, well, we'll go to mine since we have a guest. TD Jake, Will best bet is New Mexico State +39 at A&M.
You couldn't be
now,
any more
as the resident chair, Crowder Booth chair of the Sickos Committee, this is a sicko bet, but it's not that bad. Give me General Booty and Louisiana Monroe +24 against Auburn.
General Booty's not playing in this game, is he?
I don't even know. Don't care. Peyton Thorne might not play, which that might hurt me because that might mean Auburn can play offense if Peyton Thorne doesn't play.
Do you know who the backup quarterback is for ULM?
Nope.
Aiden Armenta.
He doesn't even know who that is.
General Booty masterclass incoming.
General Booty has not played since Troy. That was September 28th.
Yeah, he'll probably come back and play against Auburn and throw for 500 yards.
Will, that bet was so bad, you got a guy who's not even a Christian to say Jesus. I mean, that's how bad he thought it was.
Spreading the word.
There you go. I love that. Jonesy just DM'd me asking you guys to take him out of timeout. That's a Ralph thing. I don't know how to do that.
That's Ralph.
No, look, I will say this. I put mine in like 5 minutes into the show. I almost took Auburn -24 just to make things interesting. Because if Peyton Thorne doesn't play and they let Hank Brown go back there and sling it.
Is Auburn going to score 24 points? I don't know. I don't. And look, it's not because of the players. It's this offensive coaching staff. They're going to find ways to not score points. I mean, they have gotten great at it. They'll run a kicker out there that has no confidence. I mean, his kick meter looks like this. If you play EA CFB, Towns Magoo, feel bad for him. The Joker has no confidence right now. I mean, it's just been a nightmare season for everybody at Auburn. On the offensive side of the ball, Big Dirt, get him a Broyles Award because he deserves it. But I don't know that Auburn can score 24 points.
How many people would actually sit here and watch, like, just a 30-minute show, like 3 or 4 of them a week of Will just ranting and raving about Auburn for 30 minutes and then just getting off? I think there could be an audience for that.
We've done those before.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like you just solo, like you just ranting and raving to the abyss. for 30 minutes. Talking about basketball, they're losing to Kent State.
According to Gavin, is that actually true?
A literal Mr.
It probably is, knowing Auburn.
A literal Mr. Magoo kicking for Auburn. Tell them this show without me
No, they're what 52.
will get out performed by the Harris campaign. Dear Lord. Auburn Yule tickets as low as $5. Dev, sounds like you're making a trip to the loveliest village on the plains. Best bet. I don't mind that one. All right, let's roll with mine. Now preface it with this. Ralph?
I already told you. I don't blame you for it.
I'm going back down to the Fun Belt. A little Fun Belt on Fun Belt crime. And Ralph, go ahead and throw it up there. I'm taking Georgia Southern minus 7.5 at home against Troy. I think Troy got some momentum, but I just don't think this is a very good football team. And I think that the Eagles are going to defend home turf. This is an afternoon game. It'll be in tonight. Paulson Stadium is a cool place at night in terms of an atmosphere. So Georgia Southern needs a win. They're also still alive, by the way, in the Sun Belt East race as well to make it to the title game. You can't drop this one. So a lot more online for Georgia Southern. I'm taking the Eagles minus 7.5 at home against Troy. TD Jake said his
Troy
best,
runs the ball, it'll be fine. They'll win. They'll somehow win the game.
best bet is bye week minus 6.5 at Georgia Tech, says TD Jake. So
another bye week? My God.
Yeah.
They ain't played nobody.
I think it is dumb that Georgia Tech has bye week. It makes sense why they did it because of the week 0 game, but it's like all the momentum that you had coming off of Miami game, now you got to sit and wait 10 days to play again. Like, I kind of hate that, 10 or 11 days to play again. So they'll be next Thursday night under the lights at Bobby Dodd against NC State, going for win number 7. Will's pumped though, baby. They hit that over total.
That's right. That's right. Don't laugh. We gotta be serious and professional.
No laugh.
Even though Jonesy was literally talking, never mind. I won't get graphic. That wasn't safe for work. So
Gavin says 10 days to marinate in that fluke.
Gavin
don't laugh. Don't laugh. Don't laugh about it. Cannot laugh. Any final thoughts on college football this week? I mean, you guys, is it kind of sad that we've only got 3 more regular season games for a lot of teams? Kind of flown by.
Not for me.
The closer to next year, the better.
I can't wait for our tier rankings in February when we talk about the SEC tier rankings and Will creates a new tier below the SEC, which is just the Sun Belt's tier 1 teams. It's
gonna be awful. I mean, Deuce Knight's gonna flip to Ole Miss. That's happening. So
put the Alabama when Caleb Cunningham does too.
Feeble. I'm just waiting. I've been waiting for the Auburn's recruiting class to fall apart, and it's going to.
I got one game we looked over as a Big 12 matchup, Bryce, that could have big implications for an upset. Kansas is going to BYU. BYU's 2.5-point favorites at home.
If BYU plays somebody with an offense, they're going to lose.
Kansas had their best game last week against Iowa State.
And shout out Jonathan Wallace, friend of the program. They've just been abysmal this year.
Friend of the city, friend of the program, friend of Bryce.
He used to babysit me when I was just a wee little tot. Will's going to have Auburn in tier 7 by themselves. Mormon mania, says TDJ.
There's what, 16 teams? Auburn will be in tier 16.
You don't have Jeff Lebby in that category with him? I feel honestly, it's not even Jeff. You know what? If there's one team that I'm like, it's okay, it's Jeff Lebby, Mississippi State. Like,
I'm kind of glad Auburn didn't have to play Mississippi State this year.
Yeah, I like Jeff Lebby. Mississippi State is a complete disaster, dumpster fire.
Bryce, I have a question for you. What do you think about the 2:00 kickoff in Tuscaloosa this weekend? Bear down, baby. You're at a bear down this weekend.
Listen to me right here, because I actually had someone in the athletic department said, "Are you going to talk about this on the show tonight?" And I said, "As long as you put it in the hype video that comes out on Friday. Look at this. Go win this game. Stop that guy that's playing quarterback and fake playing quarterback, and just go tackle the guy. I'm talking to you, Ken Stanley, linebacker. This is the last chance you get to play on a football field at the FBS level. Go do it. Look, this group, They need to go win the football game. They need to go win the football game. They are one of the best teams in the FCS. My guy Mike Jacobs has them rolling. Drew Cronick, we love you. You left them high and dry. You let them go. You went to Navy. You went to greener pastures. Go win the football game. Go take out Alabama at Bryant-Denny. I've seen on social media their fan base, they're scared. They are scared. They said, why did we schedule a team that is literally number one in nearly every single statistical category at the FCS level? Maxwell, you can shut your mouth. No one cares what happened in Homewood, Alabama about a month ago. Mercer is going to be SoCon regular season champs, and they're going to take down Alabama. Book it. I don't know what the spread on this game is. I like it. It's going to be interesting.
There is.
I like it. Look, how could we all sit here and say we'd love to see that? Like, we would absolutely love to see.
Will would have the best day ever if that could happen.
Will, would you sacrifice Auburn losing to Alabama by 75 points to see Mercer beat them in Tuscaloosa?
Say it, Will.
75 is a lot. I don't know.
Okay, 50,
Will,
50 to nothing shellac.
Say it,
Will. I've seen it before. So
go
again.
Please, go do it.
Again,
go do it,
again. A poor shout out. I've seen it happen.
I'll be right back.
Another shout out to our friend Jonathan Wallace. A poor shout out. Poor Jonathan Wallace. He was the quarterback for that game. Poor Jonathan Wallace. Not your fault.
Tough year.
That's an understatement.
He also
if Bryce doesn't come back with his daughter in a Mercer onesie, he's doing it wrong.
I don't think they have a Mercer onesie. I don't think they do. I could be wrong.
They're doing it wrong. They are doing it wrong.
They definitely don't have a Tech onesie, so they're doing it right. But yeah, look, I mean, this week in college football is every week from here on out now. Starting from even week 1, week 0. It's huge. I mean, this season alone has been absolutely crazy. Is he wearing a Mercer jersey? Where'd you get that?
I have it. Let's go. Go win the football game.
I agree. I'm with you.
I don't think I'll ever forget the video of Bryce celebrating Mercer's goal line stand against Auburn.
It's a touchdown.
Yeah, they were on offense. Yeah.
And I also celebrated TJ Finley's 2 interceptions he threw. Gavin says, Bryce, where's that white jersey? I don't know. Ask my wife. She donated it when we moved down here. Thanks so much.
Golly.
Brutal.
We're not gonna shame anything that Hillary does.
Brutal. I have a Mercer onesie. Is it for you? That's filthy. That's
Okay.
filthy. Hey, we appreciate everyone watching. Make sure you tune in. Obviously, we'll be live on Monday night, recapping the week. Tuesday night, we'll be back with the call-in show. And, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. College football is – we only have so many weeks left, folks. And so enjoy it. Embrace it. And we're going to have fun. We're going to talk portal. We're going to talk coaching staff. So make sure you hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. That is Ralph Leary. That is Will Manis. My name is Bryce Koon. Jonesy, you're so close to getting banned again. We'll see you next time here on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.